This evening, we'll be celebrating the amazing accomplishments of this year's 20 Davidson Fellows, including things such as cancer and cellular research, development of smartphone-based pulmonary analyzer, creating a glove to assist those with hand tremors, converting, and that would help my putting, I think. Can you do that? I don't know. Converting industrial waste into electricity, creating underwater cameras to assess the health of the ocean, and some rather extraordinary musical and literary portfolios. The Davidson Fellows not only represent some of the brightest young minds in the country, and you'll recognize that pretty clearly, but also represent kindness, compassion, and a strong desire to improve the world around them. Many of their projects were inspired by experiences that motivated these young people to find a solution to a problem. Whether it was a personal experience with cancer in their families or friends, or seeing children in India go without vaccinations, each fellow is driven to use their passion, their motivation, and intelligence to make the world a better place. We have 3 past fellows joining us tonight. Some are siblings, I think. Melody Lindsay, 2009 Davidson Fellow Laureate. Here she is. James Trigg, Davidson Fellow from 2010. We got him. And Josh Wolf was a Davidson Fellow in 2014. Okay? Tonight we'll be recognizing the 2016 Fellows. 4 Davidson Fellow Laureates at $50,000 level. 8 Davidson Fellows receiving $25,000 scholarships, and another 8 receiving $10,000 scholarships. So let's get started with the $10,000 recipients. First recipient, Mr. Christopher Huh, an 18-year-old musician from Germantown, Maryland. Christopher? Not exactly a musician, right?
Why? I don't know who wrote that. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Christopher Huh, and I'm from Germantown, Maryland. My project, History's Lessons, is in the category of literature and was comprised into a book titled Keeping My Hope. Keeping My Hope is a 170-page historical fiction graphic novel that deals with the Holocaust and World War II. The story is told through the account of a man named Ari, who recalls his teenage years living through these 2 terrible events. Now a grandfather, Ari tells his life story to his granddaughter, passing down his memories and not wanting his grandchild to forget the past. During research for Keeping My Hope, I stumbled across the story of a Swedish diplomat and businessman named Raoul Wallenberg, who was known for saving 100,000 people towards the end of World War II. Right here in DC is a street in front of the Holocaust Museum named after him. He saved many Hungarian Jews from death by shielding them with protective passports, indicating that they were under Swedish protection, as Sweden was a neutral country throughout World War II. Last spring break, I flew to Sweden to interview his 94-year-old sister, Mina, Wallenberg's last remaining family member. I'm currently working on a graphic novel about his life. I still plan on continuing my research in world history in order to produce many projects that will help educate and bring people closer together. Understanding the past and making it applicable to the present is an idea that I hope to spread. I'd like to thank my family for allowing me to pursue my goals. My 2 nominators, Ms. Rainey Schlenoff, who is the Holocaust expert who came to my English class, and Ms. Denise Stopp, whose English class inspired me to write my book. And of course, Mr. Davidson, Ms. Mosner, my teachers who came today, and the staff at the Davidson Institute who made this possible. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Miss Justine M, an 18-year-old from Crown Point, Indiana. It's a big step.
Hi, my name is Justine M, and my project is titled "An Examination of Black Liberation, Stereotypes, Healthcare, and Education Through the Eyes of a Black Woman." I'm from Crown Point, Indiana, and I have spent the majority of my life in majority white schools. So from a young age, I taught myself to be really small. I taught myself to pack my personality into a compartmentalized box so that others could open it up and pick at the parts that they desired at any time. And it's really actually funny because I submitted my project into the outside of the box category. It's because I recently learned about all the complexities and identities that come along with being Black and being a woman, and also all of the other intersectionalities that I'm sure every single person here goes through, because we have ascriptive and ascribed characteristics that we can't get rid of and that you're just born with. So my project is technically a study on racial disparities, but to me, I really wanted something that would express everything that Black women are and can be. And we're so much more than the boxes we've been shackled to for centuries. I love the fact that to my friends and even to my family, respectability politics means nothing. I want Black women to live for Black women, at least for some blip in our eternal and ever-present impressions upon society. So many movements as we know them, including the civil rights, the fight against the apartheid, and even the recent Black Lives Matter, were founded, shifted, and moved by Black women. The grassroots organizations that shift cultures concerning Black rights all start with Black women. The reason being is because we're taught to put ourselves before others, and in return, movements get paved over with the faces of men. History books, with what little space is given to Black movements, are given to men. Rosa Parks and women like her are attributed to a single phrase, no, or a characteristic, strong. So I'm here to say that we're more. We don't always have to be resilient in the face of everything that gets thrown at us. It's okay to be fragile, it's okay to be loud, and we know it as making ourselves known when every other entity ignores us. It's okay to be savvy and clever, we know it as surviving. Definitions and descriptions change, but we don't. We do what we have to do to move along, and I know that I'm gonna do what I have to do. So finally, with that, I would like to say thank you to my biggest support system. My parents are both very influential in me growing a backbone, as my dad would call it. My mother is always willing to listen to me talk on and on about socioeconomics, and her job running federally qualified health centers really allows me to physically see all of the disparities that she encounters on a day-to-day basis, and that only makes our relationship stronger. I would also like to thank the English department at the Indiana Academy. I have had some pretty tough English classes that taught me about composition, but also about the history of the words that I was reading. I'd also like to thank my mentor, Mr. Watson, a former history teacher. And last but definitely not least, I would like to thank all the Black women who have come before me, who are coming into their own now, and the many more that will come after me. We're all so special and worth so much, and I want each and every one of you to know that. Thank you.
Now we have Mr. Noah Lee, who is a musician, 16-year-old from Oakland, New Jersey. I thought that was California. No, New Jersey.
Good evening. My name is Noah Lee, and I'm from Oakland, New Jersey, not California. I am so honored to have been chosen as a Davidson Fellow for the category of music. My project, titled "Changing the World Begins with a Single Person Feeling Valued," focuses on the connections made between people through music. Peace and friendship is fostered through music because music allows people to share something we all have, emotions, and the human experiences that produce these emotions. We feel connected when we realize that we all experience similar joys as well as similar hardships. These shared experiences have the power to connect people and make them feel validated. When a person feels valued, he or she feels understood, uplifted, and ultimately accepted. The need to be understood is a basic human need, and when people become more understanding, individuals can have better relationships with each other. As positive relationships develop, stronger connections will form amongst individuals, positively affecting communities and ultimately changing the world. It is my intention to use this generous scholarship to help expose young children across the country to the richness of music, as I believe our youngest generations hold the greatest potential to harness music's unifying nature. I would like to thank my cello teachers, Richard Aaron and Julie Albers, and my collaborative artist, Noreen Polera. I would also like to thank my parents for their support and encouragement, which allows for my continual growth, both as a musician and as a person. Thank you very much.
Next in this category, we have Miss Serbia M. Did I get that right?
Good evening. My name is Serbia Mandata, and I'm a senior from Olympia High School in Olympia, Washington. I'm honored and extremely grateful to be receiving this recognition by the Davidson Institute for Talent Development. My project is in the technology category and is titled My Glove, Assisting Hand Movements, Grip, and Tremor. Impaired hand movements and tremors, also known as shaky hands, impact many healthy people as well as those with diseases like Parkinson's disease, cerebral palsy, and muscular dystrophy. These impairments restrict one from carrying out daily activities such as eating and writing. To address these issues, I developed My Glove, an easy-to-use wearable glove that assists uncontrolled hand movements, improves grip, and detects and controls tremors through its use of microcontrollers, sensors, and soft robotic pneumatic actuators. The use of My Glove will lead to a higher quality lifestyle for the wide range of people that are impacted with the loss of control of hand movements and tremors. I've also extended this project by developing a system that detects, monitors, and controls Parkinsonian tremors. In the future, I would like to use the Davidson Scholarship for my higher education in order to continue research in this field. First of all, I would like to thank the Davidson Institute for Talent Development for providing me such a memorable honor and opportunity. I would also like to thank my nominators, Mr. Brian Wright and Mr. Suresh Chunduru, for always guiding and supporting me. Additionally, a big thank you goes out to my parents and friends who always motivated me throughout this journey. Thank you.
Next, we have Miss Isabel S, an 18-year-old from Boston, Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Isabel S. So we've all seen stories in newspapers or on TV about moral outrages taking place across the world, like terrorism and cultural repression. My outside-the-box project, The Cycle of Uyghur Discontent, is about these two things, but the two are very much interconnected. I've read articles about the terrorist attacks recently being perpetrated by the Uyghurs in China. For anybody who doesn't know, the Uyghurs are an ethnic and religious minority in China's western Xinjiang province. I've also read similarly one-sided arguments about the cultural repression that the Chinese government enforces on the Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities. In my research paper, I got to look at the history of this conflict and found that it goes back decades. It turns out that the morally questionable methods used by both the Uyghurs and the Chinese government have become more and more pronounced as the two groups exchange blows. The violence of one and the cultural repression of the other have, in fact, had little effect besides redoubling the issues they were intended to stop. The government's attempts to repress Uyghur separatism have increased the violence of the movement. The Uyghurs' increased violence has only caused the government to institute further culturally repressive policies. In this, as in many other conflicts, the media delivers a message that is skewed towards one of the parties. What we need to remember as outsiders, however, is that any such conflict cannot be understood on such shallow terms. From our homes, mine in Boston, far away from the conflict, it's easy to side with or incriminate one side or the other, when, in reality, no conflict is as black and white as that. I can't talk about this paper without, of course, thanking my two wonderful teachers, Mrs. Jennifer Baker and Mrs. Jennifer Skeel, whose help was instrumental to the progress of my paper. I also want to thank Miss Alice Stern, my librarian, for all her help on my bibliography. And of course, I need to thank my parents for all their wonderful support. I'm so grateful to the Davidson Institute for honoring my project by allowing me to be here today. This scholarship that Davidson has generously awarded me will be a great help to me and my family in enabling me to continue to pursue my academic interests. Thank you, and remember, don't let a skewed media approach prevent you from thinking about both sides of a conflict.
Next, we have Miss Kavita Silva, a 17-year-old scientist from Houston, Texas.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kavita Silva, and I'm currently a senior at Clear Lake High School in Houston, Texas. My project is called From Nano Defects to Mega Power, a scientific investigation with an overall focus on renewable energy. In this project, I developed a new type of magnet using thin film superconductor tapes that is much stronger than permanent magnets for use in a variety of applications, including wind turbine generators. Over the past 5 years, I have improved the magnetic field strength and uniformity of these superconducting magnets by systematic investigation to find optimal configurations. In the past year, I have done simulations to predict actual power outputs of wind turbine generators using magnets based on these tapes in place of permanent magnets. I found that with magnets based on these tapes, power levels as high as 14 megawatts can be achieved in wind turbines, which is 7 times higher than what is possible with the typical wind turbines in use today. With much more powerful wind turbines, fewer of them have to be constructed, installed, and maintained, which will greatly improve the economics of this industry and spur the renewable energy source. My research direction is currently headed towards the use of these thin film superconductor tapes in MRIs for medical applications. I'm honored to receive the scholarship, and I plan on using it to further my career in scientific research. I would like to thank my parents, my brother, my research mentors at the University of Houston, Dr. Lee, Dr. Mason, and Dr. Majkic, my nominators, Ms. Pinchbeck and Dr. Sharma, my teachers, and all my friends and people that I've met throughout the way that have supported me throughout this process. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Clifford Soloway, an 18-year-old scientist from Cortland Manor, New York.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being here at tonight's reception. I am both honored and grateful to be in attendance, and I would be remiss if I did not begin by thanking the Davidson Institute for the support and opportunity that this award entails. So as you know, my name is Clifford Soloway, and I'm a college freshman originally from Westchester, New York. I submitted my work entitled Reprogramming of Metabolism in Cancer Cells Through Lysine Cysteinylation in the Field of Microbiological Research. So when I began to develop my research question and methodology, I was most interested in studying metabolism. From the beginning of my understanding of this topic, I found it to be both a seemingly magical molecular process that had surprisingly advanced consequences within the field of microbiology. So I took it into the cancer field because I found this connection to be very interesting. And I studied the fact that cancer cells, unlike normal cells, do not rely heavily on oxygen in order to produce energy. There's a general understanding that's in the scientific community of why this occurs, but there's not a general hypothesis as to how it comes about in cancer cells. So I used breast cancer cells and studied a particular post-translational modification called lysine ciceinylation. And by manipulating this particular cellular process, I was able to find that increased post-translational modification via lysine ciceinylation was correlated with metabolic changes that are essentially identical to those described by the Warburg effect, or the difference in metabolic production of energy. So as far as the consequences of this research on a therapeutic level, if we're able to further understand how and why the Warburg effect arises in cancer cells, it may be an opportunity to develop medicine that attacks those cells that express this phenotype, which would be much more selective than attacking all cells overall, leading to a better patient experience throughout therapy. And I'm grateful tonight to be joined by my parents, who have supported me without fail throughout my endeavors, as well as my principal, Mr. Keith Yee, for supporting the science program in my school. I would also like to thank my teacher, Mr. Frank Tamweber, for introducing me to the research process, and my mentor, Dr. Taro Hitasugi of the Mayo Clinic, for teaching me the true meaning of science.
Next, we have Miss Josephine M, an 18-year-old scientist. I'm sorry, yeah, an 18-year-old scientist from Potomac, Maryland, not very far.
Hi, I'm Josephine, and I'm from Potomac, Maryland. I did a scientific research project on the topic of bilayer graphene, which is titled Lattice and Continuum Models of Bilayer Graphene. For this project, I created a two-dimensional theoretical model of bilayer graphene. Graphene is a revolutionary material with excellent potential for integration into technology. It is renowned for its incredible thinness, strength, and conductivity, which make its potential applications in electronics particularly promising. In particular, possible uses include things like anti-rust coating, light screens, touch screens, and solar panels. Especially interesting is bilayer graphene because it is pertinent in the coding application. Bilayer graphene is simply two sheets of graphene stacked atop each other. For my project, I studied the mechanics of how these two sheets of graphene interact and the structures that form as a result, which is important if the bilayer system is to be applied into technology in the future. My model could also provide a basis or example of how to study the graphene system. Alterations to the model could allow for others to study the graphene system under different conditions and hopefully further the research in this field. I'm currently a freshman at MIT, and I hope to use the scholarship money from the Davidson Foundation to pay for things like textbooks, tuition, and the like. I hope to pursue more scientific research opportunities in the future, and receiving recognition for my work so far has been a great encouragement to do so. I'd also like to thank my mentor, Professor Harsh Mathur from Case Western Reserve University, who has been so patient and encouraging in teaching and guiding me. He provided me with all of the resources and background necessary for this project, and briefed me on topics way ahead of what I had learned in school. I would also like to thank the teachers and administrators from my high school, especially in the Magnet program, and my nominator, Ms. Angelique Bossy. The Magnet has given me a wonderful foundation in the STEM subjects and a passion for learning. Lastly, I would like to thank my parents for their unconditional support and love throughout this project and my life. Thank you.
This year's $25,000 recipients are, first, Mr. Michael Dew, 17-year-old scientist from Houston.
Good evening. My name is Michael Dew, and I'm a senior from Cypress Falls High School in Houston, Texas. My project is entitled Nefertimox Limits Cell Proliferation in Glioblastoma Multiforme in Vitro. and it was in the category of science. Nifurtimox is a drug that has been used for over 40 years to treat a parasitical disease called Chagas disease. However, I decided to investigate the use of nifurtimox and its impact on glioblastoma multiforme. Glioblastoma multiforme is a stage 4 brain tumor, which is the most dangerous and unfortunately the most prevalent type of primary brain tumor in adults. It has a very bleak patient prognosis, as the average patient life expectancy is only about 11 months with intensive and chemotherapy and radiation therapy treatments. In my research, I found that nifurtimox was capable of limiting the cell viability of 3 glioblastoma multiforme cell lines to as low as 29%. But more importantly, I provided a significant amount of insight on the mechanism of nifurtimox by showing that it takes action mainly through apoptosis and cell signaling inhibition. This opens doors for many future scientists who are looking to develop more drugs like nifurtimox to treat not only glioblastoma multiforme, but all other brain tumors alike. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Davidson Institute for this amazing honor and scholarship, which I plan to use to help me further my education and research experience in college. Next, I would like to thank Ms. Tacey Mosner and the whole Davidson Institute staff for organizing such an amazing event. Next, I would like to thank my mentors, Dr. Peter Zage, who is at the University of San Diego, and Dr. Sarah Woodfield, who is at the Texas Children's Hospital, for guiding me throughout all my research endeavors. Finally, I would like to thank my parents and my sister for all their love and support and being my greatest role models in life. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Anirudh Ganeshan, a 16-year-old from Clarksburg, Maryland.
Hello all, I'm Anirudh and I'm from Clarksburg, Maryland. It's not too far from DC, unlike some other people here. Before I begin, I would like to sincerely thank Mr. and Mrs. Davidson for inspiring the future leaders, engineers, scientists, writers, and musicians of the world. I can confidently say that receiving the scholarship motivated me to continue working on my project so that it can be used in the field to save lives. And my project is Vaxwagon, an innovative, eco-friendly, no ice, no electric, active refrigeration system for last leg vaccine transportation. The inspiration to work on this project was a personal story. My grandparents had to carry me 10 miles to a clinic in southern India where I was born in order to get me vaccinated against polio. When we got there, the vaccines were contaminated due to a lack of refrigeration and high temperatures. My parents later told me this eye-opening story, and I decided to do some more research. And according to UNICEF, 1.5 million children die annually from vaccine-preventable diseases. And I asked myself, how can this be happening when we have iPhones, smartphones, and Macs everywhere in the world? And I knew there had to be a better way to store and transport vaccines. And after much research and a lot of investigation, I came up with Vaxwagon. And Vaxwagon works with the same technology as a refrigerator in your home, but instead of using ice and electricity, it works off the grid, and it uses the turning of a wheel to power a small refrigerator. And it stores these vaccines between 2 to 8 degrees Celsius while in transit to these remote locations, without freezing or overheating vaccines. I had a lot of setbacks. Over 2 years I've been working on this project. I had 5 iterations, and each one came with a lot of failures. And without a doubt, the most important thing was definitely grasping the idea of the science behind refrigeration. And Vaxwagon really taught me that failure isn't really failure, but it's just an opportunity to learn more. What's next? My goal is to have the system operational and then used in the field so that it can be used to save lives as quickly as possible. When it saves that first child's life, I know that I achieved my goal. And with the help of the Davidson Fellows Scholarship, I can achieve that goal. I would like to thank my mom and dad for giving me the moral support and guiding me through this whole project, as well as all my mentors who gave me valuable advice towards the development. And again, I would like to thank the Davidson Fellows Program. Because of their generosity, I can continue pursuing my education so that I can move forward with Volkswagen. And this has been a pretty good birthday present so far. Thank you.
Well, I guess we'll have a party tonight, huh? Something like that. The next is Raghav Ganeshan, 14-year-old from San Jose, California. Here we are.
Hello, everyone. I'm Raghav Ganesh, a freshman at Lynbrook High School in San Jose, California. I'm very grateful and honored to be here today. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimated that 1 in 68 children have been identified to be with autism spectrum disorder. And many individuals on the spectrum periodically experience emotional outbursts and loss of behavioral control, and these periods are known as meltdowns. And these can be triggered by high levels of accumulated stress and atypical sensitivity to a variety of factors. Meltdowns are unpredictable and can hinder an individual's ability to be independent. They play a large role in the lives of autistic individuals and are usually endured in private and kept away from the public eye. My project is titled Serene, an assistive biomedical system to predict and prevent autistic meltdowns. Working at home, I use an interdisciplinary approach, combining engineering and computer science with physiology and psychology to design and develop a solution. I would like to thank the Davidson Institute for this amazing award, fantastic time in Washington, D.C., and this generous scholarship. I would also like to thank all my users and my parents for testing out the many revisions of the prototypes, providing data, and teaching me so much about caring for those individuals who are on the spectrum. I would like to express my gratitude to my amazing mentor, Dr. Chris Toonhurst, and Mr. Howard Kaplan. I thank my school's behavioral specialists, science teachers, and principal for their encouragement, and as well as my family for letting me convert my room into a crazy lab and supporting me throughout. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Ellis Hamilton, an 18-year-old musician from Springfield, Virginia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ellis Hamilton, and I am incredibly honored to be here this evening. I am a self-taught musician and composer, and just a few weeks ago, I became a full-time undergraduate student in my freshman year at my dream school, Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you. Thank you. Before I go on, I just would like to say that if you happen to hear me pause or stumble at any point during this speech, it's because I have a speech impediment that is a byproduct of my premature birth. It's not just nervousness, in case you're wondering. My project submission for the Davidson Fellows was called The Music in Me. So naturally, it was submitted under the category music. The Music in Me is an hour-long show that showcases some of my original compositions and arrangements over the past several years. It was a really fun show for me because it was my first ever performance while leading my own band. Because I first performed this show with background tracks at age 13, I didn't have a band at that time. Reproducing that show with live musicians had always been a big dream of mine, and now I can finally say I have fulfilled that dream. My goal is to become a world-class musician and film score composer, as well as a screenwriter, director, actor, and author. Although I was awarded a full tuition scholarship to attend Berklee College of Music, room and board and other expenses are not covered. That's why this Davidson Fellows Award is both a blessing and a benefit to me. It allows me to cover my other expenses as I pursue my dual major in performance and film scoring at Berklee. Receiving the Davidson Fellows Award for my music really means a lot to me because music has always been in my life. It's always been a huge part of it. I faced many medical, physical, and developmental challenges since my birth. At first, doctors and therapists predicted that I would not live past 72 hours. And I say by the hand of the Lord and the dedication of my parents, I overcame that. And then they said I wouldn't walk, talk, see, or hear. And, well, I'm talking right now, so, but I can walk, I can see, I can hear, I can do almost everything that at one point in time was said for me, it couldn't be done. And praise God, I'm doing all of it. And so music for me has, it's been the one constant, it has been the one constant in my life throughout all of that. It was something I could always do. And it means so much more to me than just notes, a rhythm, and a melody. To me, music is who I am. And it's what has allowed me to, it's what has provided me a platform for me to share my story and to share with the world that with faith, hard work, prayer, and determination, anything is possible. And that a diagnosis of a disability does not define your destiny. Thank you. I am very honored that my music is being recognized in such a significant and impactful way by such a highly regarded scholarship organization. And I am extremely humbled to be a 2016 Davidson Fellow. So, Mr. and Mrs. Davidson, thank you so much. This is a major milestone for me as I can continue to strive to achieve my lifelong goal, to reach out to, inspire, encourage, and minister to the world through my music in the hopes of leading others to Christ. I attribute my success first and foremost to God Almighty, because I literally would not be here without His blessings. And then to the love and support of my parents, my two brothers, and my extended family. And I would also like to thank Professor Alvin Trask for welcoming me with open arms into his Montgomery College Jazz Ensemble. Because being homeschooled, I had no other place I could go and play. And last but not least, to my two mentors and nominators, Najee and Mr. Benjamin Skip Pruitt. Their guidance has been instrumental in my musical growth and development. So, to God, my family, and Professor Trask, Mr. and Mrs. Davidson, and Najee and Mr. Pruitt, thank you so much. I'll make you proud. Again,
That's what this is all about. Next, we have Miss Catherine Hudek, a 17-year-old from Grafton, Massachusetts.
Hello, my name is Catherine Hudek, and I'm from Grafton, Massachusetts. My project is called Quasi, a new quantum programming language for specifying quantum computations in the science category. For my project, I designed and developed a new quantum programming language called Quasi for specifying and controlling the operations of future universal quantum computers. Quantum computing is an emerging field in which new types of hardware and methods of computation are being developed which utilize the effects of quantum mechanics. Quantum computing offers the promise of addressing large and complex problems which are beyond the scope of today's classical computers. There is a need for a general means of controlling quantum computers and their computations. Quasi, my quantum computing elucidation extension, was designed to fulfill this need. I've been interested in chemistry and quantum mechanics from an early age, and I was inspired to do this project when I discovered a section on quantum mechanics and quantum computing in my chemistry textbook. I am extremely excited and grateful to be selected as a 2016 Davidson Fellow. This scholarship will help me in achieving my goal of attaining a PhD in a science or engineering field. I'd like to thank my parents for their love and support. I'd also like to thank my nominators, Dr. Moninger and Professor Mitzak, and Mr. Davidson.
I think I need one of those computers. Next, we have 18-year-old scientist, Mr. Wyatt Pontius from Sterling, Virginia.
Hello, fellows and other esteemed guests of the Davidson Institute. As he introduced me, I am Wyatt and I am from Sterling, Virginia. I am a recent graduate of the Loudoun County Academy of Science, where I completed my scientific research project entitled Reinventing the Leaf, a Novel Biohybrid Photosynthetic System. Two of the most daunting problems facing humankind today are global warming and global hunger. Photosynthesis, the process by which plants and some other organisms use sunlight to convert carbon dioxide and water into oxygen and carbohydrates, has the potential to solve both issues when done by isolated chloroplasts. Unfortunately, these chloroplasts are limited in both their ability to absorb sunlight and in their lifespan. Through my research, I have developed a biohybrid system consisting of chloroplasts isolated from spinach leaves, as well as 3 advanced material modifications serving 2 purposes. Single-stranded DNA-coated single-wall carbon nanotubes enable an increase in the light absorption and photosynthetic rate, while alginate beads and silica gel encapsulation results in an augmented lifespan of these chloroplasts. Altogether, these enhancements were able to increase the net lifetime photosynthetic productivity of oxygen and carbohydrates by more than 61,000%. I have literally yesterday, just started at Stanford. Shout out to my dorm mates at Robley, they all seem really nice. But I am already thrilled by the research opportunities around me. I hope to continue working on my project by utilizing a different light absorption material and to explore the potential applications of my research in biohybrid solar cells. I'd like to thank Mr. Davidson and the Davidson Institute for providing this life-changing opportunity to showcase our works and enabling us to pursue our future endeavors. I'm so excited to see what my fellow fellows are able to accomplish in the future. Finally, I would like to thank the many people in my life who enabled me to succeed with this project. The entire faculty of the Academy of Science, especially my advisor, Mr. T, my research mentor, Ms. Curley, as well as Mr. Ryder, Dr. Fronash, and Mr. Wolf. Ms. Plunkett and all of my other teachers I had at Potomac Falls High School, my friends and family, especially my sister Darby, and last but certainly not least, my parents. I would be nowhere without this fantastic network of people at my back. Thank you.
Little housekeeping there. Next we have Miss Maya Varma, 18-year-old engineer from where else? Cupertino, California.
Good evening. My name is Maya Varma, and I'm from Cupertino, California. My engineering project is titled A Wireless Smartphone-Based System for the Diagnosis of Pulmonary Illnesses. The prevalence of respiratory illnesses such as asthma and COPD has been growing rapidly across the world. Unfortunately, almost 90% of all COPD deaths are actually in developing nations because patients don't have access to expensive diagnostic equipment. As a result, 75% of all those afflicted with pulmonary illness are actually not receiving any medical treatment. With the increasing proliferation of internet-connected smartphones across the world, low-cost smartphone-based medical devices are now an attractive alternative to traditional custom-made medical equipment, especially in the developing world. So for my project, I set out to design a smartphone-based, low-cost, full-function pulmonary function analyzer that can be used to measure lung function, diagnose various respiratory illnesses, and monitor the progress of the diseases. The system includes a 3D printed mouthpiece in which the patient exhales, an electronics board that processes the data, and an Android application that graphs incoming data and interprets results. The total cost of the parts in my system is under $35. The device can be used at healthcare facilities in poor countries, providing the same functionality of high-end diagnostic systems at a fraction of the cost. In the future, I would like to continue improving my device by performing patient testing to ensure that the diagnoses are as accurate as possible. I've also just started attending Stanford University, and I'll be studying engineering and computer science. I'm really excited and grateful to have been named a 2016 Davidson Fellow, and this scholarship will help me greatly with my academic expenses for the coming year. Finally, I would like to thank my mentor, Dr. Ali Yusuf, who advised me throughout this project, my high school teacher, Dr. Tracy Hughes, for encouraging me to continue research, Mr. Michael Blaisdell from Ohlone Community College for providing me with access to the equipment I needed for testing my system, and my parents for their support. I would also like to thank the Cogito program at Johns Hopkins CTY for providing me with an initial financial grant to begin working on my project, and of course, the Davidson Fellows program for this amazing honor. Thank you.
Next, we have Miss Jalen Walls, an 18-year-old writer from Pearland, Texas.
Good evening. My name is Jalen Walls, and I am from Houston, Texas, where I am a current senior attending Carnegie Vanguard High School. I'm extremely honored to be here tonight amongst so many talented, brilliant young students. My project is entitled Humanity on Screen, Engendering Positive Self-Perception and Political Activism in Persons with Marginalized Identities. It is a lengthy portfolio of literature including short stories, poems, and a full-length film, all dealing with conflicts of marginalized identity, be it related to social placing, race, culture, or gender. Through my body of work, I hope to provide many new teenage perspectives outside of those typically presented in Western canon. As of right now, I have been granted an independent study at my magnet school in which I am writing a series of essays which will be compiled into a novel by the summer of 2017. In the future, I hope to study literature and English in order to further my work on representation of historically underrepresented groups through fiction as well as nonfiction. I would like to thank my creative writing honors teacher, Mrs. Harris, for providing invaluable guidance on my project as well as guidance in life. I would also like to thank Stephanie Moore for introducing me to the beauty of screenwriting, as well as my parents for allowing me to explore creative writing to the fullest extent as a young person. Finally, I would like to thank the Davidson Institute for providing me with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to meet such amazing people who are doing unbelievable things for almost all facets of the academic as well as musical community.
And now, for this year's four $50,000 recipients. The first is 18-year-old mathematician Mina from Naperville, Illinois.
My name is Mina Jagadisan, and I'm from Naperville, Illinois. I'm currently a freshman at Harvard University. My project, titled The Exchange Graphs of Weakly Separated Collections, was in a field of math called algebraic combinatorics. I used combinatorial tools to study the structure of higher dimensional vector spaces, which are mathematical objects that have applications in many fields, including neuroscience, differential geometry, and Fourier analysis. My work takes a step in the direction in understanding how higher dimensional vector spaces decompose into smaller subspaces, which are easier to handle. The main tool that I use is a generalization of triangulations called weakly separated collections. I specifically studied a combinatorial structure arising from these collections called exchange graphs and proved some of their structural isomorphisms. I'm honored to be a Davidson Fellow, and the Davidson Scholarship will contribute to my college tuition. I'd like to thank my mentor, Miriam Farber, for her tremendously helpful guidance and insight. And I'd also like to thank Professor Alexander Postnikov for suggesting this project and the MIT Primes program for supporting this project. In addition, I'd like to thank my parents for their encouragement.
Next, we have Mr. Christopher Lindsay, a 17-year-old from Honolulu, Hawaii. Again, the second of that family. We just heard the second from a former family. Christopher, come up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and aloha! You say it back to me. Aloha! Okay. My name is Christopher Lindsay, and I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. I am honored to be a 2016 Davidson Fellows Laureate. 7 years ago, when I was half the height I am now, I met Mr. Davidson and his remarkable staff for the first time when my sister Melody was named a Davidson Fellows Laureate for heart performance in this exact spot. You can only imagine the incredible joy and overwhelming relief I am feeling being behind the podium for a change. Through my sister's experience, I know what an enormous privilege and amazing honor a Davidson Scholarship makes in the lives of young people who strive to make positive contributions to the human experience. To the Davidson Institute, my sincere thanks for this incredible honor, or as we say in Hawaii, mahalo. Scientists agree that barely 5% of our oceans have been explored, since ocean research is extremely risky, expensive, and dangerous. However, the study of our ocean environments is crucial to our welfare and the health of our planet. My project, Kahakai to Hohonukai, Environmental Studies of Marine Biota Using Time-Lapse Photography and Multiple Camera Arrays, investigates various methods to observe and study marine environments over time using inexpensive, home-engineered time-lapse camera systems. Over the past 3 years, I swam with sharks to photograph them in their natural habitat. I designed a camera that the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute's Jason 2 submarine placed at 550 meters depth. I deployed various cameras from a NOAA research vessel in the Maui Triangle to assess benthic fish populations, and I engineered multiple camera arrays to study the effects of discarded World War II munitions are having on Hawaii's marine biota. My research will help revolutionize how assessments of marine environments are made and open up new frontiers on planet Earth that are vital to our ocean's health and mankind's well-being. I would like to thank my incredible mentor, Dr. Margot Edwards, as well as her colleagues at the University of Hawaii who encouraged me to be curious and fearless. I would also like to thank my physics professor, Dr. Gould, for his support at the University of Southern California. Finally, I would also like to thank my friends at the NOAA Pacific Islands Fisheries Science Center under the direction of Dr. Michael Secchi, who had faith that a miner wouldn't sink their multi-million-dollar research vessels. Last but not least, I owe my family and my dog a massive I owe them my love and sincere thanks for their support in my scientific endeavors and for encouraging me to enter this competition in science instead of something like drum set performance. To all the Davidson Fellows, past and present, congratulations. To everyone else, thank you for your support and for joining in the celebration tonight. Aloha.
Next, we have 16-year-old scientist Shiha Mushuduri. As good as I can do. From Mill Creek, Washington.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sriharshita Masanuri, and I'm from Mill Creek, Washington. My research in the science category is titled The Application of Tetrahedrite and Magnesium Silicide in a Novel Thermoelectric Unicouple to Generate Electricity from Industrial Waste Heat. It turns out that for every 10 watts of electricity that is generated, about 15 watts of energy are lost in the form of waste heat. As solid-state devices, thermoelectrics are easily applicable and scalable for waste heat recovery, yet are held back by high material costs, toxicity, and low device efficiency. Discovering that tetrahedrite, a low-cost p-type mineral, lacked an n-type analog, I designed, engineered, and tested a new pairing using a silicide compound that was compatible with tetrahedrite. With a theoretical efficiency that is higher than most commercial thermoelectric devices, this configuration functions optimally around 450 degrees Celsius, opening up numerous applications in the industrial waste heat sector, as well as the automobile industry to recover energy from exhaust gases and boost efficiencies. As a high school junior, I will be continuing my study into cost-effective thermoelectrics, and I would like to extend my gratitude to the Davidson Fellows Institute for this scholarship, which I plan to use to further my education at a research university and eventually engage in real-world implementation of my innovations as an entrepreneur and scientist. I would like to thank my mentors, Dr. Lindsay Miller of Alphabet Energy and Mr. Andrew Savald, my physics teacher, as well as Dr. Michael Kavita S of the University of Washington for the guidance and resources that they provided. Also, special thanks to my parents and my sister for their unwavering encouragement and support throughout my scientific endeavors. Thank you.
And finally, we have Mr. Nicholas Pooks, 17-year-old scientist from Palo Alto, California.
Hello. It is such an honor to be a part of this ceremony along with these amazing people. Having the privilege of going last, I get to say that hearing about all of your projects has amazed me and dazzled me. And Ellis, your story is an inspiration and blessing to us all. My name is Nicholas Pooks, originally from Paris, where I was born and lived for the first 11 years of my life, and now from Palo Alto, California, which has been my home for the past 6 years. I worked on a project in stem cell biology entitled Development of a High-Resolution Multicolor Fluorescent Reporter System for Clonal Analysis. My project consisted of developing a genetic construct which labels cells with different colors, which we called Skittles. Any cell possessing Skittles would be randomly assigned one of 25 different color combinations, allowing us to track it and any cell that divides from it based on its assigned color. The ability to track cells is critical to the study of biology. And so, by expanding our current tracking technology, by increasing the color palette used to track these cells from 3 to 4 using current technology to 25, Skittle opens the doors to new, more complex studies that were previously unfeasible. Just to give you an example of some of its applications, in our lab only, we plan to use it to study the dynamics of tumor growth, the different dynamics behind embryonic development, and we hope to use it to identify various organ-specific stem cells. I plan on continuing my research at Stanford, where I just started as an undergraduate, where I will also be studying biology for the next 4 years. I would like to thank a few people for making all of this possible. First, I want to thank my family, especially my parents, for supporting me throughout my entire life, and in particular, through my own tumultuous 7-year battle with cancer. Next, I want to thank my research mentor, Jonathan Tsai, for taking me under his wing and for being an amazing friend and mentor for all the years that I've known him. A big thank you to Professor Wiseman for letting me work in his lab, for trusting me with such a big project, and for all the support that he's given me over the past year. Thank you also to Professor Beachy for his counsel and for his nomination. Thank you to everyone else in the Wiseman Lab who has helped make this project possible. Finally, a huge thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Davidson and the Davidson Institute for the honor of naming me a fellow and for the gift that you've given all of us fellows through your recognition and support. On a personal level, I would like to thank you for showing me that I've gone from being a victim and a patient to being part of the solution. I'm so incredibly grateful to all of you and humbled by your support. Thank you for making this moment possible.
Congratulations to all the new Davidson Fellows. You're an amazing group of people. Uh, this is a ceremony I enjoy more than any other every time this year. As you move forward through your education and careers, we know you'll continue to make a positive difference. I would like to thank our congressional co-sponsors, Senator Harry Reid from our home state of Nevada, and Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa. I would also like to thank the National Museum of the American Indian for allowing us to host our event here tonight. It's a beautiful forum. I would also like to acknowledge all of the teachers, mentors, nominators, and especially the parents and family members of these fellows so that they could achieve their dreams and goals. Thank you for everything you have done to support these absolutely outstanding young people. We are thrilled to recognize the 2016 Davidson Fellows, not only for their incredible projects, but also, as you have heard, for the journey they forged to reach this point. With nurturing, gifted students like these will be among those who will solve the world's most vexing problems. Thank you again for sharing this special evening with us. Good night. I think we have something special coming here. I think Ellis is going to do something.
So, what I am about to perform is my own arrangement of the song America the Beautiful, and I am playing all of the instruments in the background.
I don't think we can top that, so once more I'm going to say good night, safe travel.